Hi guys, welcome to Brand X Reviews. Today is the day that we've been waiting for, well, me in particular anyway. Finally got to see the Batman vs Superman movie, Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice to be specific. Now this is a film that a lot of us have been waiting a long time for. I mean, you can say 3 years since it got announced almost, but I mean, this goes back really to anyone's childhood. A lot of people have been kind of putting a number of years on it, like, oh, I've been waiting 20 years. It goes back as far as you've been a fan of these characters. I mean, some people could have been waiting 50 years to see these characters on screen together. For me in particular, I remember when I was a kid, because I kind of grew up. I'm old enough to remember that Adam West was the Batman, the most recent Batman. And then when I was about sort of 8, that's when the Tim Burton, Michael Keaton one came out. So I guess that was kind of my era. And growing up, my point being, these were the toys that I was playing with as a kid, and you know these kind of came out by the same company. I mean, obviously Superman wasn't in that film, but you could play with them together, and it was like the fantasy, it was the dream, Batman and Superman together. And it's kind of teased in a lot of things as well. I remember in Batman Forever was a reference to where you're going to go, the circus must be halfway to Metropolis by now. I think in the Superman series, had Dean Cain as well. Not hasn't aged for brilliantly, but at the time it was quite good. There was a reference to Gotham City, something like you want to say it a bit louder, Lois. You know, people didn't hear you in Gotham City, so there's kind of connective tissue there between the two characters' universes, but they never overlapped like we've got in this. So we've been wanting to see this. So what is the film like anyway? I'm going to do spoilers, by the way, but just to start with, this is my kind of non-spoilers bit. I was happy with the film, but I wasn't wowed by it, unfortunately. And I know so many other people, in fact, every reviewer that I respect and that I kind of follow and subscribe to on YouTube have said exactly the same thing. And I'm not just copying off what they're saying, this is my opinion. I didn't hate the film, I didn't love the film. I think there's enough good stuff in this to outweigh the bad, to be honest. On a positive note, trying to be optimistic, that's how I feel. Because there's a lot of reviewers that are saying this is a terrible film. It's not a terrible film at all. It's just not awesome. I think a film like this, it's expected that it's going to be awesome, so it's held to a very high standard, which is kind of a double-edged sword in a lot of ways, because from a marketing point of view, the hype machine, it gets bums on seats, and regardless of what the critics say, this film's going to make a mint. It really is. But on the flip side of that, it raises expectations to a level where if it doesn't deliver, it gets slammed undeservedly. Don't get me wrong, I mean, some films like the last year's Fantastic Four film, which I still haven't seen yet, not really much of an intention on doing. I understand the problems of that film. That was a bad film, and there weren't particular high expectations anyway. So that, you can't really kind of say that this kind of film is that kind of film. So, I think it's getting a lot of criticism undeservedly. So that's kind of my non-spoiler review. My spoilers, I'm not going to go through what happens in the film. You just watch the film, but I'm going to go into specifics about what I liked, what I didn't like. So there's going to be spoilers from this point on. So, quite a few little things that I think were a problem. Some people, before I saw this film, I'd heard there was an issue with editing. And I thought, well, I'm not like big into like how scenes are cut together. I'm not like a filmmaker or anything like that. It's like I don't care if they transition something perfectly. But when I was watching this film, it was very apparent the editing was an issue. Specifically there, the problem was they didn't really like stick on any one thing for any real length of time, so you could kind of flow with it. It didn't flow very well. There was a lot of stuff happening in this film, and it would jump from one thing to the other, and it was a kind of a barrage, just a kind of scatter shot of lots of little things happening, and a lot of things were shoehorned in as well, like the introduction of the Justice League characters. Some of it just came across as really silly. If, like I say, this is spoilers, so I'm assuming you've already seen the film and know what I'm talking about. But there's a bit where you get to see some files, some computer files that have information on some of the Justice League characters that we haven't met yet, like the Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg. For starters, if you don't actually know who those characters are, you are going to be really confused watching these clips. I mean, Flash, you can pretty much get the clip out of the clip that they show of him moving very fast, that's what he does. Cyborg, on the other hand, you're not going to have a clue what the hell is going on in that video that they show you of him kind of being created. It's really going to go over people's heads. I mean, I'm not a big expert on the character, but I know enough to understand what was happening there and who the characters were. And the Aquaman scene, I wanted to like it. I'm one of the lesser critics of the Aquaman character. I think it can work. It could be done quite well, but it looked stupid as hell in that scene. It looked like a Saturday Night Live piss take sketch of something with Aquaman that you would see. I was waiting for somebody like Jimmy Fallon or like David Letterman or somebody, these like talk show hosts to appear like behind him or something. It looks silly, but yeah, I would have liked to if they just used a bit more imagination on that. But one thing that I did like about this was the dream sequence. Well, the bit after the dream sequence, because again, the trailers just gave so much away. So many things that were in this film that were cool about this film were in the bloody trailers. So that's not the fault of the film, that's the marketing. But point is, one bit that I really liked was just at the end of that dream sequence, the Flash appears, the Ezra Miller Flash appears in a vision to Bruce Wayne, basically warning him about things that are going to happen in the future if he doesn't change things. And this doesn't in any way tie in with the content of this film. We're talking about something that's going to happen in a future film, which I think a lot of people criticise how this film sets up the future stuff. I'm going to get into that in a second. But I kind of like that touch in this because it reminded me of this really good horror film that I love from the 80s by John Carpenter called Prince of Darkness. Where the characters are getting this message from the future and it's going to the mind, and it's very much reminded me of that, but with this kind of superhero twist to it. So I actually liked that. That was one of the few things that wasn't ruined by the trailers. Well, the dream sequence was, because again we knew like bits of that and we'd pretty much guessed what it was all about. But that little end bit there, I thought that kind of gave me a bit of a buzz. But it was one of the very few bits in this film that did that. And again, it's not really a fault of the film as such. It was the fact that so many of the kind of money shots in this film was ruined by the trailers. Now, like I said, a lot of people are complaining as well about this film, how it's just serves as a trailer for the next film. I don't like it when they do it. They shouldn't do that. They should have a film be self-contained and not tease things that are going to come down the line so much. Iron Man 2 did the same thing and it was rubbish because of that. I very much disagree with that. There's nothing wrong with doing that as such as long as it's done in a good way. It just didn't happen to be done in a good way in this film, unfortunately. I didn't have a problem with Iron Man 2, the way they set up the whole Avengers stuff. It was something that was coming, and they didn't just want to dump that film on us. They needed to kind of sow some seeds in it, and I don't think it took too much screen time out of Iron Man 2 to do that. This film, on the other hand, it was very much just kind of like, we're just going to show you some Justice League characters just for the sake of it. It's like, it didn't fit in with anything really. It was just like, oh, by the way, here they are. So it didn't make sense in the plot or anything like that. It'd be kind of like me now saying, do you want to look at my willy, by the way? Look at it. Here it is. And I'll put it back. There we go. Right, back on with the review again. You'd be like, okay. And the video would probably get blocked as well because it'd be obscene. But you know what I mean? It was like, you're showing us something that, yeah, might be, it is what it is, but where did that come from? Why did we need to see that here? How does that fit in with the rest of this presentation? It didn't really. It was kind of shoehorned in. So, like I said, I don't have anything against setting up a universe, a franchise of what's to come next. And these films are serialised. They aren't self-contained films. I know they said that with Deadpool. It's like, oh, that was so good because it was its own film. It didn't necessarily set up other stuff. So it was a standalone film. I don't think they knew if they were going to do any sequels. This film, they know they are doing sequels. A lot of them are already in production. So, you know, they need to start sowing seeds for this. So don't moan about that too much in at face value. It's just the way they did it that's the problem. So that's my thoughts on that anyway. Now, again, some of the backlash that this film's been getting, a lot of it's been deserved, but I feel really bad as well because Ben Affleck as Batman, he was the best thing in this film, and a lot of people have been saying that, and I fully agree with that as well. I've become kind of a bit of a fan of Ben Affleck in recent years. I didn't used to be, but if you watch his more recent stuff like The Town and Argo, the films that he directed and Gone Baby Gone, he's not in that film, but he directed it. And some of the other films like Gone Girl as well, great film, needed a great performance in that as well. So I've become a bit of a Ben Affleck fan anyway. But his performance as Batman was like so great in this. I was really saddened to see this recent interview where somebody asked him, how do you feel about the backlash that this film's getting because the reviews aren't good? And he looks absolutely heartbroken. He really does. I feel really bad for him because he gave his all in this. I really believe that. And I'm hoping that going forward they actually do some standalone Batman films, which there's a lot of talk about them doing that, a lot of serious talk about them doing that. Not just one film, but a trilogy from what I understand. And that he might even be directing it. At least one of those. He's a great film director as well, and I think if he directed it, there wouldn't be any of this stupid kind of chopping stuff together, like scenes and kind of going from one story to another and then back to it and then to another story and then back and forwards. It's like that's what they did in this film, and it really didn't work for it. Now, what else can I say? Let's talk a little bit about how they tied in some of the source material that they were basing it on. So obviously when they announced this film was getting released, they did make some indication that some of the story elements were going to be taken from the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel series, which was from 1986 by Frank Miller. I'm sure you're aware of what that is. But to be specific, there's only a few little bits, a couple little bits really, that you can say were adaptations from this. Obviously you can see here, if you've seen Batman v Superman, you'll see the kind of costume that Batman's wearing there is very similar to what he has in the film when he fights Superman. You'll have seen that in the trailers. You don't even need to have seen the film for that to be obvious. But there was one other element in this graphic novel as well that they used in the film that I wasn't aware of. There's a bit where Superman gets nuked, basically. And as that bit was happening, I thought, this happens in the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel. And there's a bit where when it does actually hit Superman, he ends up kind of looking all frail and kind of corpse-like, I guess, which is pretty much what they did in the film. So they've taken another element there out of that. So that's some of the source material that was from the Dark Knight Returns, which is great. And again, like I say, there was never any indication it was going to be an adaptation of that book. But there was some other good stuff as well. Obviously, we knew Doomsday was in it. I mean, I knew already because some scoops that I'd heard from long ago. I think I even did a video about it over a year ago saying that Doomsday was going to be in this film. But the question then was, because Doomsday doesn't really do much other than kill Superman in the graphic novels. So it's like, well, if you're putting him in this, he kind of has to kill Superman because that's what he's famous for. That's like putting a porn star in your movie and not having her suck a dick. It's like, well, what else is she gonna do? So in this, that's kind of where they went with this. Not dick sucking. I mean, they killed Superman. So that would have been good actually because Amy Adams is quite fit, but whatever. That's just whatever. So the death of Superman is a very big selling, best selling graphic novel of all time apparently. And this was from the 90s. Where Doomsday, the character that you see in the Batman v Superman film, that's this big guy here. He's on Earth and he just destroys a load of shit. Superman fights him and there's like an epic punch up to the death. Now I think what happens is they just keep hitting each other until they both just beat each other to death. In this film, what happens is I'm just going to show you some more pictures there. What happens in this film is Superman gets impaled by Doomsday's claws, these kind of protrusions that he has coming out of him, which I was hoping they would see that, because in the trailer you don't really see a lot of those protrusions. They haven't fully grown at that point, but later in the film they grow even more to the point where he looks like he does in the origin story. So that's something that kind of borrowed from that. Now, one thing that's kind of pissing me off, I hate it when they do this, and Marvel do this all the time, and it pisses me off when they do it, but they've done it in many other films as well. Star Trek 2, for example, was an early example of this, but we kind of forgave it. They killed off Spock, he comes back in the next film. Now sometimes they don't even wait till the next film, they just bring him back. I think that was the last Star Trek film they did. Okay, they killed Captain Kirk, and they brought him back in the same film, so it's like, and we knew they were going to kill him off ultimately, so his death, that scene, has no kind of weight to it. So I was hoping in this film, when Superman does die, that he stays dead, because otherwise it's like, well, we knew he wasn't going to die anyway. I mean, we do know he's going to come back, but I just didn't want to see it in that same film. And they do kind of hint that he's still alive at the end of it. Obviously, if you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. Now, I don't mind that, because they're basing his death in this film on source material, and in that source material, Superman comes back. So I aren't really bothered about that. Like, oh, well, he's not dead anyway, so what's the point? Well, that's kind of what happened in the original. Now, from this, it's been a while since I've read it, but from memory, what happens is Superman died, but he was at the brink of death to the point where his heartbeat slowed down to such a degree where it was like one beat every like however many weeks or something, and then obviously over time it kind of got better, as you do when you die, you get better. But with this, he's been impaled, so I don't know quite how they're gonna do that with the sort of technical side of it, but I'm assuming it's gonna be something very similar anyway, where it's like he's not really dead, he was just mostly dead. So is that a Princess Bride reference I'm kind of quoting there, I think? But in those comics, if you're interested anyway, I kind of showed you the death of Superman, but it's not just that. That's where he's dead at the end of it. If you're going to read these, you need to read all three of them. There's the death of Superman, there's a world without a Superman, and there's a return of Superman. And it makes quite a lot of reading there, if you're new to kind of comics and stuff. But it's really kind of worth it anyway. And you'll kind of see where some of the ideas they might get from the next few films are going to come from. But they're going to have to bring Superman back in the Justice League film. And that's kind of a weird place for that film to start. I don't know. Because I don't see in any of the other films that they've got coming out in this lineup, like Wonder Woman, for example. I mean, that's set like 100 years ago, so they're not going to bring Superman back in that unless it's some time travel thing, which would be kind of weird because they've sort of established time travel with the Flash. But yeah, anyway, I don't see that happening in the Wonder Woman film anyway, or the Suicide Squad film. So I'm presuming they're just going to bring Superman back in the Justice League film in 2018, I believe, so 2 years away. Now, am I looking forward to that? That's the question. Well, I am, of course. I'm a big film fan. I'm going to go see it, and I enjoyed this for the most part. I just had a lot of problems. I'm not as hyped about it as I was about the Avengers, for example. Not because I'm a Marvel fanboy or anything like that. Look, I grew up not really liking Marvel characters at all. None of them. I was a Batman fan, a Superman fan, but it just seems nowadays, in this current time, 2016, Marvel have been doing the best superhero films by ratio. Although I love the Dark Knight trilogy. That aside, am I looking forward to the Justice League film off the back of Batman v Superman? Not really, not specifically. I mean, I'll go see it if they'd just released a Justice League film without anything coming before it. I'm probably about as excited now as I would have been if they'd just started from that, because nothing that I've seen so far has really made me want to see this Justice League film. It's just been little teases of things, and Gal Gadot, the actress that played Wonder Woman, for example, she was used quite well in this film, but she's not a great actress, and I've said that in other videos. She's really wooden in a lot of the lines that she delivered. In some of them, they look like there's a bit of potential there, but not enough. But they used her in such a way that they kind of covered for her kind of weaknesses as an actress, and her kind of physicality was something more that she's kind of got a lot of strength with. They kind of played that up. So little things like that kind of I can live with in a Justice League film, but I'm not exactly excited about going to see it. And I feel really sad as well because, like I say, I feel like there's been a lot of effort put into this. And Zack Snyder is the film director. He's a really great visual storyteller, but I'm not a big fan of his kind of directing. It's got to be said. So I'm really kind of rambling on now. I mean, I'm slating this film off for kind of throwing things out there and then not sticking to them. I'm doing that with my review. It's just I've got so many things. I need to process this. I've only just seen this film today. So I'll probably do another follow-up review anyway with the core anyway, my core reviewer, because I know he's going to have plenty of stuff to say about this film. In fact, we've had a few discussions about it since we saw it at the cinema early today. So keep an eye out for that coming up at brandxreviews.com. So for now, I think I better just leave it there because I'm really just ranting on and rambling. So bollocks to it. I'll cut it short and say like I say, brandxreviews.com is the website. There's some information coming up on how you can follow us on social media. But I guess that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just so you know, for more news, reviews and retrospectives, you can like our page on Facebook, simply called Brand X Reviews. But as well as that, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube via this video. You can also bookmark our website, which is brandxreviews.com, which is pretty much a central hub for everything that I've just mentioned. So check that out and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.